It's everywhere.
That's awesome. Well, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, I'm Scott Carson, excited to be with you here on a special afternoon episode. And we have a rock star here. Literally, I'm so excited to have this guest. And it's funny, is she should have been on a little bit sooner, but I got sick, then she got sick, then Christmas and the holidays. And it just turns out, I think, to be even a better way to start the new year out. We're going to call this episode the Marketing Boom, actually, with our friend, Stefanie LaHart from BoomTown Marketing out of Los Angeles. Thank you so much for joining us on here. Stefanie, how are you doing today? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Scott. I am doing fantastic. You and I had a little pre-roll conversation. I was, or everyone seems to be having this week, that it's like, oh, new year, new week. Let's do everything we need to do for the whole year right now this week. Yep. And I'm like, whoo, that's a lot of coffee being drank out there. Let's all calm down. I like creative strategy. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. They haven't done anything for a week. Let's hit our goals. Let's hit our year goals in the first 5 days.
Let's do it all now.
That doesn't happen.
Enthusiasm. I told you, though, I love the enthusiasm. And what I want to see is people to have that level of enthusiasm like in February and in March and be able to keep going, because I get a little nervous when people are like, they have all these resolutions and they're making all these changes because, it takes a while for those new habits to stick. So here's
exactly. And most people think it takes 21 days for a habit to kick in. It's actually 66 days. For a habit to get in. 21 days is a great start, and that's getting off to a rock mode. It's actually 66 days straight. So if you mark that now, that's literally right around Valentine. It's around the 7th of, or the 5th or 6th of actual March. They do it for 66 days straight.
I'm going to agree with that. Hey, did I tell you that I wrote a book last year?
No, let's talk about it. That's a great idea.
It ties in with the whole habit situation that you were just talking about, because it did take me literally 60 days for it to become, the writing to become such a habit that I was rolling through it. And I had my book done within 4 months. And then after that, I still kept with my schedule. I was getting up at 5 a.m. every day because then it was such a part of my morning. And I think I wanted to affirm that you are entirely right. It does take about 60 days for that all to roll in. So yeah, we can talk about my book though too, because it has to do with social media, but it's a fiction book.
Really? Is that, hang on a second here. I just pulled it up here. Where is it? Oh, well, that's not you. There's a different one. I type in Stefanie LaHart on Amazon. It's definitely not you.
Yet. No, it's not out yet. It's not out yet.
Oh, okay.
It's actually at my editor right now.
So yes, let's talk about it. Talk about the book. I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah. So listen, you are the first person I'm announcing it to. And I wanted to do it here because it ties in with podcasting. It ties in with everything that you and I have been talking about over the last year, which is really, talking about what you know best, whatever your niche is or whatever your passion is and what you have the most knowledge, like you find the most joy and you find the most audience when you are actually, talking about that and delivering it to people who also, have an interest in that. And, I see that with your podcast. Your podcast is so interesting and great. And I'm so grateful that you've introduced me to the whole investing, industry, because those people are so into it. And I love that. So on my side, I'm all about social media. That's what I do. I'm a social media marketer. And last year I had this idea for this book that is based in the world of social engineering. So just to clarify what social engineering is, whether you know or the audience knows, social engineer is what we qualify things like vishing and phishing. And in a nutshell, real quickly, that's when you get those like little, nasty emails that say, oh my God, you've won $1 million. You just need to call this number or claim this or do whatever. That's all called phishing. That's social engineering, where you're actually hacking human emotions and human responses in order to get, a response, usually for, a situation that is illegal. So that is what we call phishing. And then vishing is where you get a phone call the same way. Hey, I'm Publishers Clearinghouse. You want Publishers Clearinghouse. All you need to do to claim the money is send us $5,000 in tax money. I mentioned that specifically because unfortunately that happened to a friend of mine.
Oh, man.
Okay. She told me the story. It was actually Christmas 2017. And she was showing me the documentation that she had and the guy that had scammed her mother had been using her credit cards. Okay. So I'm looking at the credit cards and I'm like, I know where all these places are that he's been shopping because they're up in my neighborhood. Like, I swear to God, Scott. And I was like, oh my God, I could find this guy. Because, I'm like the queen of finding things out about people. I am. I'm going to call myself a stalker because I am, but old school. Like, I can do it without a social media profile. So I'm just like, I could find this guy. I could absolutely find this guy. And I know how this will happen. So I got the idea in my mind, and she had already turned it all over to the police. So no, the next question everybody is, oh my God, did you really find the guy? No, but I had such an idea in my mind for a book that answers the question is, what would happen if I did find the guy? So Scott, I wrote a whole fiction book, which is called The Winning Number. And it's all about what happens when this social media professional, yes, it is based on me, tracks this person down and then busts open this entire scam ring. God, it was so much fun to write. You have no idea. I got to use all my skills, and it was all stuff that I already knew it was the easiest thing I've ever done, because I'm like, I know how I would do this and this would work. So I'm really excited. And it actually gave me the idea for a whole trilogy. So that's book number 1. Where she discovers the scam. And then book number 2 is busting open the whole scam ring. And then book number 3 takes place at DEF CON in Vegas, where the social engineering captured the flag.
Hang on, I'm going to announce the episode, the name of the book the third time with a drum roll there for you. Sorry.
Okay. So the third book takes place at DEF CON in Vegas, and DEF CON is a huge hackers convention that's been going on for over 25 years. And they have a big competition during it called Social Engineering Capture the Flag. And what that entails is that you go on stage, and in front of 500 plus people, you social hack a Fortune 500 company on the phone. And you don't know this, Scott, but I took part in the competition last summer.
Okay.
I had the second highest call score. That's how hard I rocked it. Yeah. In fact, I even have Chris Hagnity is the gentleman who runs the competition. I even have him on video saying, oh my God, you blew us away. I mean, I wasn't even aware of this competition before I started writing this book. It was all part of research. But anyway, so book 3 takes place in all that. And hopefully I will be in that competition again this summer. So it's all coming together, Scott. It's been a big, exciting year.
That is awesome, because we originally met at PodFest in Orlando. You were running all the social media for Chris and those guys over there, and they do a great job. And are you going to be back at PodFest this next year?
I am. I am currently running their social media again. So all the stuff you're seeing happening there is all me again. I will be attending. I will be speaking, and I will also be running around doing live social media like I was last year, which means, I'll be the person in front of your face, just trying to capture photos and videos. So yes, and it all started at PodFest. And because of hanging out in that community with those guys, I also launched my first podcast last year. So my podcast is called the Tradigital Podcast, which is a combination of traditional with digital. And what it is, it's a crossroads of where traditional PR meets digital marketing. And it is hosted by me and my best friend, Sharon Newt, because she is all traditional PR. And of course, I'm digital marketing girl. I consider myself half cyborg as it is. And it's been a really fun, we did 12 episodes last year, and we'll do even more this year. So we're really, really happy about that.
And it's a great episode. I actually subscribe to it, and it's funny listening to your conversations back and forth. It's funny because you're very energetic. She kind of is a little bit of I don't want to say Debbie Downer sometimes.
She is. No, she totally is. And every time we do a show, as soon as the show's over, she goes, I feel like the old mother hen downer. And I was just like, well, you listen, sister, that's who you are. Well, because I know she's kind of the voice of reason. I'm always the one that's all bright and shiny. Let's just do that. And she does bring up a lot of really good points. And just through our conversations, I've learned so much, because listen, I jump on all the new stuff. And sometimes she's like, hey, how's that really going to play out? I'm like, oh my God, you're totally right. So, we have a nice balance because we're two. But the funny thing is, we've been best friends for 20 years. And I have to tell you, in person, she's a lot more fun.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that for a second. You can tell that just being around. You're a fun person, get to hang around with. We had you on Note Camp recently. You were one of the highest ranked sessions.
What?
Actually, seriously, for Note Camp,
What?
people loved your Instagram breakout session that you did on how to get your Instagram rocking for real estate.
Awesome.
Phenomenal job. Lots of great reviews.
Great. I
And
had
then
several of the people that attended actually reach out to me afterwards, and I actually helped them one-on-one personally with their Instagrams, and it was really, really fun because they were into it. And Instagram really is a way to do a lot of great free marketing if you're in the real estate or investing business. So, it just gives you a great opportunity. Anything with those like little visual snapshots like that and it's easy. Facebook made itself very hard in the last year, and my recommendation for a lot of my clients these days is to do something a lot easier like Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest even Snapchat, because I feel like Facebook at this point has become a bloated hog of nonsensical information half the time. And, they're not showing business posts like they were. So it's very hard as a business owner to utilize Facebook the way we used to. And people need to be aware of that because I don't want people wasting time. There's days where you're posting 20 times a day on Facebook. I tell people post once or twice because for the most part, people aren't going to see it unless you're really driving them there, right? Do you find that too?
I totally find that. I mean, you see, especially, I want to say this around August is where Facebook made the algorithm change.
Yeah.
From if you're like, especially with the podcast, we used to live stream it share it straight to Facebook Live, which we're doing right now. But we would share it straight to the business page because I have a bigger follow on my business page. But it just dropped dramatically. So then we had to tweak it up, share it to the personal page, and then use Live Leak to share it across to the business page. But it still doesn't get the same type of reaction or interaction with our audience like it did beforehand. But it's just a numbers game.
Down to that's not anything you're doing. It's Facebook's not showing your feed to people. They're literally not seeing it unless they're specifically going to your page at that moment. Mm-hmm. And, that's, I don't really understand what Facebook's motivation for that is. They're always about, hey, we want to make it like this. And well, that's fine. But here's the thing. A lot of people were on Facebook specifically for business. And I feel like they're cutting out a huge section of the audience that they should be developing instead of trying to go back to the way it started, where it's like, oh, it's just the way that you talk with family and friends, to really embrace that this is a way that people talk in business. And in business, you develop real relationships too. Like you and I became friends because we met in a business setting. Yep. Like we never would have met if we weren't at PodFest. And now we know each other and we hang out and we talk and all that. But that came from business first. And I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot that way, that they're not letting us develop a relationship first through business and then letting it proliferate through a social setting too. Because now I talk to you on your personal page all the time, right?
Yep.
So that's my feelings on Facebook. They need to get their shit together.
They need to get their shit together is right, or figure out what they're doing, because I think they're really harming a lot of things. Just literally, if they're going to do that, then they need to increase the amount of friends that you can have on your personal pages.
Yeah.
Because I've been going through and cleaning out because I've been capped out. I'm like, all right, I don't know who this person is. I know who this person is. So I'm kind of unsubscribing from things. And I knocked 100 people off recently. And suddenly I'm getting all these invites from people that I have 300, 400 connections with. I'm like, okay, that's a valuable. Oh, I see that person. I've never seen this person before. Yeah. And now I'm starting to see a lot more difference in my feeds. But I'm like, I don't have the time to go through here and do that on a constant basis. I want to be very simple. We're posting. I don't want to have to post 20 times a day, like you said, or 10 times a day to finally get in front of our audience. Right. I want to make it very simple. And that's why we've been spending a lot more time, I think, kind of, especially on LinkedIn near the end of last year, really using that to grow our audience. And now the fact that they have added the video feature to it, which is really nice to add some video.
Yeah, it is.
I love what Instagram is doing with Instagram TV. That's been a big thing for us to focus on this year as well, to spend a little bit more time with it because it's a lot easier to do. It's not difficult at all.
Right, exactly. And again, though, that's something that they still need to build up the audience for it and get people more comfortable with using it. And you know, since we're talking about social media and everything, you know, I am such a big proponent of, you know, there's all this new stuff all the time and even old stuff, and like really pick and choose what you're going to focus on. And the way that I work with my clients is that I always tell them, pick 1 or 2 social media channels, especially when you're first starting out, and just do that. Don't worry about everything else, because you won't have the time, you won't have the do everything, and you can really start building your audience just on that one specific tool. So, you know, if people want to get into Instagram TV and say, I'm just going to do that, then just do that. Don't worry about anything else. Instagram TV is going to be a bigger part of my business this year too, because I'm becoming really video heavy at this point. Now that I've got somewhere to actually shoot and things like that, that was a big issue for me. I just didn't have an office space. And now that I have my new office space, I have somewhere that I can actually, I love yours, by the way. I just love your wall and your sign behind you. That looks so great.
Well, it's PVC pipe, like $300 from a company. They came in, installed, looks nice. The green wall, custom paint. Everybody that comes in the office, because we have coaching students that come in, they're like, "Oh, we expect this big studio," and they're like, "Oh, it's only like a 10 by 15 Regis." I'm like, "Yeah, I just need one wall. I get all a bookshelf with all my trinkets and books underneath of there." Very simple. It doesn't have to be big. I mean, half the time I was doing it out standing in front of this fake lake out here, or at the house in front of a wall. I mean, you've done some great webinars and trainings with your mom in the background.
Yeah, I did. Mom will be back in February. She enjoyed that. But yeah, it was like, you know, because I have a home office too, and you're always like, how much do I want to show of that? What am I actually showing my camera on? So yeah, but now I'm like, I'm happy with my backdrop now, because now it's all, you know, basic. And yeah, so exciting times, Scott.
Exciting times. I got a text message from somebody who wanted to know some of the sneakier things that you're doing to Facebook stalk people. Because funny story, with us in the debt space, we're buying distressed notes, and we don't have the availability to go knock on the borrower's door and say, "Hey, I'm going to buy your mortgage. You know, tell me about it." So I have been a big advocate of jumping on Facebook, trying to track down our borrowers, see what's going on. We've had some interesting stories, like one lady on a property in Orlando that I was getting ready to buy the note on. She posted on Facebook, to either pay my mortgage this month or go to Disney World. We're going to Disney World. You know, we found out another borrower was going through a bit of a transition. Basically, he was paying for implants.
Oh,
so,
wow.
You know, you hit a button there for some people out there, especially because people buying assets and trying to stalk people. You got any tricks of the trade you would recommend?
Yes. And in fact, you just gave me a brilliant idea that you and I are going to talk about after this. I should put together a whole training on social, we're going to call it social research for people specifically in your industry, because guess what? The healthcare industry is already doing it. The big companies already do it. But I do have a lot of really good, they're not even secrets, but tools that I use to find out that specific information. One of them that's really great, you may or may not be familiar with, is a website called People, P-I-P-L, it's PIPL.com, I believe it is. You go to that now? Scott, you put anybody's cell phone in that? Holy crap.
Wow.
Everything shows. And listen, everybody's so, you know, your cell phone is such an identifier now. It's used in so many cases. Even your social security number. But when you run it through things like that, what it does is it just pulls up any information that's out there about you online, whether it's social media, whether it's public record, things like that. And look, you know, this is not something that's illegal to go and look for. Everybody has to understand that all of your information now public. Since they started digitizing things like driver's records, like over 30 years ago, where you could see people's like driving records or police records, it's just public records and everything is digital now. You have to understand that. So the people you were talking about that were posting stuff on social media about paying their mortgage or not, that is like comical, because you're like, you have to understand, first of all, Facebook is not private. You cannot lock down any information. You can be like, oh, mine's private. I only have friends, but they don't understand how Facebook works. Facebook works on friends of friends. So this is what happens if I have my settings just set to, okay, I've only ever accepted 20 people as my friends, but all of my privacy settings are set to friends as friends, which means that my friends, I only have 20, every one of their friends can also see my information. People do not understand that. So I may only have 20 friends, but I'm friends with Scott Carson and he has 5,000. So guess what? I've just opened myself up to that. Your information is not private. And I don't say that to scare people, but be aware of when you're online that, you know, it is out there. So, you know, if you're doing something that is maybe illegal, like not paying your mortgage, then it's easy to find that information. So, but did you pull up people.com? Okay. So that is my number one, like my first stop on my trail of stalking is I go to people. Usually if I have a cell phone or an email address, you drop that in there and please stalk me right now. My entire life is on there. In fact, I'm the worst. When I was on stage at DEF CON where everybody is like so into security and all about like, oh my God, don't know the real me. I'm on stage telling people my real name, giving them my website, saying, stalk me. I want stalkers. I don't get, but I want to quantify that and say, I don't want to be trapped in your basement and I'm not putting lotion on, but I would love a stalker. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because I looked at that. I typed in my cell phone number, pulled up people that I went to college with, the guy that used to have the cell phone years before I had it.
Really? That's
yeah.
funny.
And then
Scott, I'm dating a guy right now who's not on social media at all. At all. Wow. And he's actually in security. So his information is really locked down. And he meets me and I'm like, do you realize like this is my job? And so I, of course, have said, well, you can go look up anything you want about me. But he's like so not into social media. He hasn't even seen my like Instagram. He hasn't even looked at my YouTube channel. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. And yeah, and he's like, you know, he thinks all of his information is locked down, but I found it.
Well, it's funny because I had somebody, I got a student who listened to the podcast who signed up to be in my coaching to be a note investor, and he doesn't have a Facebook profile. He was in military intelligence, like the CIA for military.
Okay.
And he's like, I don't have a Facebook profile. He's, you know, now a doctor. He's like, I don't want any of that information out there. Is this going to penalize me as a note investor? I'm like, no, not really. You'll be fine otherwise, but it's going to handicap you for a little bit for if you're going to do some stalking if you don't have a Facebook account. So we might need to create a profile.
Well, he can create what they call a shadow profile.
Yeah.
And then, you know, do it through that. But also he's not online, but his entire family's online. So sorry, dude, I could find your stuff. I can know the name of your dog in an hour.
So what's another website that you like? After people, where do you go?
People provide you with so many links. So really I start there and kind of start doing the social searching, whatever social has turned up. And then once I get a social account, then I start looking at friends of friends. You know, you find out a lot of information about that because again, if you go to somebody's Facebook page and it's locked down, but you can see some of their friends, if you can get into some of their friends and they don't have privacy on everything, next thing you know, you'll see, you know, their post somewhere. Oh, so when I was doing the competition last year, which was social engineering, capture the flag. Okay. So they give you a Fortune 500 company. And then what you have to do is go online and you do something called ONSIT, which is online intelligence, source intelligence gathering. Okay. And when you do that, it's like, you know, you just find out as much information as you can about the company. And then usually you'll pick an employee or two to really zero in on because that can be your access point. So in my searching, oh my God, so I picked this one guy. I start doing my searching. He didn't really have that much of a profile going on, but of course, friends and family did. I found out that his aunt went to the same high school as I did. I was like, dude, I'm in. All I got to do is start talking to her about alma mater. Then I'm in her account. Then I can see her posting about him. It was good. It was really good. So you use that kind of stuff because in social engineering, what you're trying to do is be able to build a connection to that person. So picture it this way. Say he was a higher up at a company like a CEO, and I wanted to infiltrate that company for whatever reason. And, you know, they do it for black hat and white hat reasons, just to make sure, you know, that companies understand the level of, you know, security that they have. Right. Very easy for you then to find out enough about this person and maybe their personal habits to be like, oh, I know they live in this area. They tend to, you know, go to this Starbucks. I saw a post of their cousin saying I met John at this Starbucks. Well, I go start hanging around there. I meet them in person. Now what happens, Scott, is I am not just some random person talking to you online. I'm somebody you physically met in person. Oh, you know what happens? Face-to-face meeting, your authenticity and your approval goes like
skyrockets.
I've met Stefanie at Starbucks. She's harmless. She's so sweet. She's so funny. She's a little crazy, but next thing you know, I'm at their house. Listen. I'm not saying I've done it, but it could be done.
That's a funny thing. So I had a funny story. Is I had a borrower of mine in Columbus, Ohio, on a note I was buying. I found out that she owned a clean-out company, like a cleaning company. So I called her up. I hired her to go work on 3 other properties. She went and did a good job. I paid her for her work, and in the process, I was buying her mortgage, becoming her bank. And then after she got any more work, I said, actually, you and I need to have a talk. She's like, what are you talking about? And this is all on the phone. I was like, listen, I don't know if you know what I do, but I buy debt. And I came across, actually bought a portfolio, and your mortgage is in it. So I know you haven't been paying your previous mortgage company, but you need to pay me now.
Oh, how'd that work out?
Right. She's still on time to this day. Been on time.
See, isn't that funny? You developed a relationship with her, and she feels more liable to you because she knows you probably. Mm-hmm. You're not a faceless bank.
Yeah, but that's also sometimes people in our neck of the woods, people kind of worry, oh, is somebody going to show up in my house suddenly? Yeah. Especially when it's about 45%, ratio is about 45% women in our line of work. And that's a big thing, security. I don't want anybody showing up at my house. Stephanie, who says hi and Happy New Year to you as well, is always, worried about that too. Somebody going to show up at my house? I'm like, no, not, they shouldn't. We don't have anything.
Who's going to show up at your house? Like the people that you're.
There are going to be any angry borrowers? Or going to be, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, because we don't buy much in Texas. They'd have to really go out of their way to do it. We get random investors that swing by the office, which is totally fine. Just Stephanie's a little bit more of an introvert when it comes to security about where things are at, which, some people are like that,
Yeah, I mean, it's, I always say it's great to be aware, but again, we live in a different time now. We're in a very digital age. Information is out there. So if you're aware of stuff, then you know what to look for, I feel like too. So you can, better protect yourself or just, put systems in place. So, obviously, I don't know. Don't deal with people that are too irate. I don't know. I've been learning so much more about your industry now. So yeah, it can kind of go either way, right?
Right.
But listen, here's the thing. If you have a mortgage, you should be paying it. So you're not the bad guy.
That's right. That's the way we look at it. Hey, we're here to help. We all go through financial hiccups and people with the layoffs and things like that. We understand that, but your best is to communicate with us and let's create a win-win, because I will win. I'm the bank. I will win at some point, no matter what you try to do. Yeah. And it's funny. We've had those conversations with borrowers like, oh, I had a great event. I bought a brand new car. And we call them, oh, hey, I don't have any money. Oh, but I see online that you bought a new car last week. And it changed. It's a real quick come to Jesus kind of meeting really fast when you can track that stuff down.
Yeah, totally. And, again, it's really like open communication, as you know. You can figure if they're really in a situation where they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to figure this out. That's one thing. But again, and it's funny because people prioritize stuff differently, as you saw with things like cars and everything. And it's very easy to be like, well, that's a bill I owe, but that's kind of nameless, faceless. I don't really have to pay that. I'm just going to do this other thing. And, it's a priority thing. I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation.
Whole nother conversation
people make. Oh, I'm actually just started. Well, actually, I'm halfway through a really, really interesting book you would love. It's called Fast and Slow Thinking. I think I got it right. So yeah, Fast and Slow Thinking. And it's written by one gentleman that won the Nobel Peace Prize for their work on psychology research and all this. And it's all about how and why people make decisions the way they do. That you think you make a decision kind of like just spur of the moment, or it's just like, but your decision making actually is based on how our brains work. It's the only way I can describe it. So we sit there and say, well, I just decided to go and get a cup of water today because I was thirsty. But your brain has a whole way of how you make decisions. And it's based on not only, environmental factors and influences and things like that, but just the way you process information too, which was so interesting to me. Because I always ran more towards the line of like people make decisions emotionally, but it really is a neurological pattern more than anything. And it was really interesting to me, especially being in social engineering now, because there's a term called priming. Do you know what priming is in a conversation? They use it in police conversations a lot, where you feed them information in order to get a certain response. So instead of just saying, hey, Scott, how's your day? You'll say, something that's a little bit more leading, like, hey, how are you feeling today? Are you still having that back problem? And then next thing you know, that whole conversation could be about your health and all that. That's called priming. And this book really goes into what that looks like and why that works, because it's a trigger within your brain, why you answer questions the way you do. The police know this. That's why in the FBI, I mean, shit, half of me wants to go to FBI training now because I'm so into this. That'll be book number 4.
There you go.
Actually, no, that's not true. I already have the outline for my next books because I wanted to keep doing trilogies. And the reason I want to do that is because I live in LA. I specifically am in Hollywood, and it's all about getting your book to a movie. And Hollywood loves a book that they can turn into a movie, and a trilogy is much easier to go to movie. So the next trilogy actually is based around, because I started going to so many conferences last year, it's a murder mystery. And it happens at one of these conferences where they go, and then one of the conference goers shows up dead. And the way they figure out this whole murder is by going to these various conferences and interacting with it. So it all takes place from conference to conference to conference, and that's how the murder gets solved. So yeah, there will be remnants of Podfest in there, remnants of social media marketing world, all my experience, and little pieces of FinCon in there, all the people that I've met.
That's awesome.
Somebody
I love
dies.
that.
It'll be like Clue. Somebody dies.
There you go. I love it. Absolutely love it. That's great stuff there. Now let's bring it back a little bit here. I love it. We go in these deep dives, rabbit holes on some things. It's good stuff. But what's those that we talked about at the very beginning? Everybody's trying to squeeze so much in, get everything rocking and rolling in January, and you mentioned about, hey, focusing on maybe 1 or 2 social media channels to focus on things. Where do you see the biggest opportunities out there for those, especially now you're going to learn a bit more about real estate and what we do on the note side? Where do you see the real big opportunities for people to kind of help get their message out or help their marketing boom, as we
Well, we talked a little bit about how you can utilize social media, specifically like Facebook, to find out information on people. That's one side of it, but the marketing side is different. Marketing, I'm going to say that Instagram is still a really, really great place for people in your industry to get their message out there, not only about what they're doing, but also to find investors when they need them. Because I know that you guys do a lot with real estate investing, with note investing, things like that. So if you're looking to build that part of your business, whether it's through partnerships, investors, things like that, Instagram's a great place for that. First of all, it's got really simple visuals. It's very easy to log on. You only have one thing in your face, so your message is clear. Building your audience through that is awesome, and there's I'm going to actually say again, Twitter is the horse that keeps running. For as much as people say, they like to make predictions about Twitter every day. Twitter's dying. Twitter's shutting down. Twitter's the best thing ever. The entire world's on Twitter. Nobody's on Twitter. I'm going to say Twitter has been a strong horse in the race from the beginning. And I would really like to see more business owners taking that seriously. Because here's the thing, Scott. The big guys are on it, and the big girls. The politicians are on it. The people in the media are on it. People that are making huge decisions about the world are on it. The name we shall not speak is on it. And, I think that's a place that more business owners need to take seriously and not sit there and be like, I don't understand Twitter. I don't like Twitter, because it really is not only a great place you can do research, because guess what? People don't lock down their Twitter profiles.
No.
But it's a great way, again, to build the relationships, because, the other spaces can be a little crowded. Like LinkedIn, for me, honestly, I haven't gotten a lot of good leads out of it. I get bombarded from people trying to sell me stuff on LinkedIn all day long. People who don't know anything about me or my business. And I'm like, you should probably have a conversation with me first, because I might need your service. So there's things like that, like you have to really say, I don't know if that's working. I would love to hear how you're using LinkedIn, how that's working for you. But yeah, I really like Twitter and Instagram from a marketing perspective for business right now.
So there was an article that came out last year talking about where specific niches are spending their time on, who and what platforms. And for the high earners, for investors, real estate investors, CEOs, people that we target, to either raise capital or do other things with, they're spending the majority of their time on LinkedIn and Twitter, not Facebook, because they're not they're being very professional about it.
Yeah.
And I love Twitter. I think I got like 10,000, 15,000 followers on Twitter because I use it. We share a lot of stuff. We share the podcast there. We share the articles on LinkedIn that we write there. We'll share that across there as well. But then I actually went viral this weekend a little bit after the UT bowl game.
Oh, really?
Funny thing. Kirk Herbstreit, ESPN announcer, early New Year's Day, they were giving their picks on who's in, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Georgia's going to wipe the field with Texas." Okay, and at the very end of the game, he posted a post trying to take back, "Oh, great win for Texas." It was a great way to build on it. People are like bombarding him with like, "Oh, way to eat some crow," talking trash. And I went and found an image where he said that quote, "Oh, Georgia's going to wipe the field with it," and I posted an image. Well, I had 400 people opt into my Twitter feed off that as well this weekend, just about football and UT. But it also led to people checking out our website, opting into the podcast, as they go back and see what I'm talking about and sharing too.
Yeah.
Now, with LinkedIn's changed quite a bit just recently. They used to allow you to export your connections. As of Thanksgiving, they changed that.
Right.
So you no longer export your connections where you get their first name, last name, email, job title and company. Now you just get everything except the email address, which is really the valuable part to put it into Facebook for marketing or to send an email blast out. But
right,
it's still such a valuable thing because I target on LinkedIn real estate investors because that's where a lot of people are looking for deals. So that helps us with raising capital. It also helps us for driving people to our workshops who want to learn about note investing because they can't find a fix and flip or an REO. And then we've also recently, with us doing a lot of stuff with podcasting, I've used LinkedIn to book myself on over 40 shows the last 3 months of the year.
Yes, I heard you say that on Feed Your Brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's absolutely helped out tremendously. I've already booked 10 gigs for the year. My big goal is to hit be on 100 before the year's out. But that was one way I've used it to build that audience. But to give you an example, I was at 6,000 connections as of beginning of last year. And I added 9,000 connections of either real estate investors or asset managers at banks to my database. And then we market to them and we get people that like our videos. They like our podcast episodes on there. It really is drives every day. I do agree with you. You do get bombarded with some stupid shit trying to sell you stuff because they don't pay attention to your profile. But I see a lot of our tribe is connecting with me on there and communicating it. And that's where they're spending their time, taking in the content, which is really valuable.
Yeah, you know what I get? I get a lot of website developers contacting me because in my profile, I used to be in website development, so they must be searching me and I'm popping up. But that's not what I do now. And they're all like, if you need some high-end website development, I'm like, no, that's 10 years too late, but thanks. But yeah, I know they're just searching that part of my profile and that pops up. So, but I like what you said about the whole podcasting booking thing. I might have to steal your idea, get myself on some podcasts. Steal
it away. Actually, hang on a second, because I did a search and it was when I typed in podcast host, it popped up 340,000 people on LinkedIn had podcast hosts in their profile.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
And then I narrowed it down by just typed in what else? I typed in real estate real estate podcast host, and it dropped it down to 17,000. Which is there's no way I'm gonna be able to do it. And I changed it to secondary connections, and that was 1,500 people. I was oh, that's easy to connect with. I can do a little bit of that at night or turn over my VA to spend some time with doing. And it's raised capital. It's helped us really take it going from one-on-one to one to many and others audiences. You know what I mean?
And are you using Duck Soup for your contact or anything? Or
what is that?
Duck Soup?
Yes. Tell me about Duck Soup.
So it's not spelled like duck, it's spelled D-U-X. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Where is it? It's a LinkedIn tool that helps you connect better. Let me see. Where is it? Duck Soup. Where is it? Yeah, D-U-X dash and then the word soup.
Okay.
It helps you to find, engage, and attract and engage with your prospects on LinkedIn. So they say, it's a great plugin though. They have a free plugin version that you can just install, and then it helps you make a lot of connections on there. So try that out.
Oh my gosh, yes. I will so try this out.
Smarter lead generation. Yeah, that was actually, you know who turned me on to that is Josh Elledge over at Up My Influence. He's the one who's the LinkedIn king. Oh my God. he works LinkedIn like he created it. But yeah, he had used that and he turned me on to it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but you'll figure it out. But, it's a way to really find those leads as well. And like I said, they do have a free version and a free Chrome plugin. So hook that up.
I am so on this thing right now. I see I pulled it up on the side page here. Oh, yes. Look at that. PIPL and ducks-soup.com. Two amazing resources here.
I wonder if they named their company after the Marx Brothers movie.
It's possibly with the way it's spelled, I think, a little bit. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. But that's the first thing when he said duck soup. I'm like the movie? Yeah. I'm like, that was like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I love those old movies. Did you ever see that?
Uh-huh. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
great movie.
I know you're younger than me, but come on. You must
I'm not that much younger than you. I'm 41. I'm not that much younger. I got the young haircut.
I can't even lie about my age because my age is everywhere. I'm like, I'm 48. I can't lie about that. It's like literally everywhere.
Well, you would never know that Podfest, because if you were there, she was literally running. You ran a Facebook race. No, you ran a race like the one day there. You're crawling underneath tripods, underneath tables to get shots. It was hilarious.
Well, I'm also the size of a Smurf, so it does make it easy for me to crawl under things. And I also run, in my I was going to say professionally, in my personal life. So yeah, in fact, I actually who is it? Sean Lesnar, who have you met him? You know Sean, right?
Yeah,
okay. He's already messaging me about the running group that he's putting together for Podfest. He's like, what day do you want to run? I'm like, what day do I don't want to run? That's like the question. I'm like, every day, hook me up. So if anybody's listening out there and they're going to Podfest, we will have a running group. Just message me after. And hey, can I make an offer to our little audience here?
Yeah, of course. You're just going to go out and be evergreen out there in the podcasts and videos. And yeah, go right ahead.
Listen, it was so much fun when I talked to your investing group. And what I said that day was, I said, listen, if you have a social media profile, that day was Instagram, I said, you're not sure if you're doing right, you're not sure if you're doing it right, just message me, send me it, and I'll give you like a quick free audit. And I did that for like 25 people. And I just want to throw that out there to the audience again. If you have social media, you might be just getting started. You're like, I'm not quite sure if I'm even getting into this right. Anyone who's listening to this, please contact me. I'm sure that my contact information will be in the show notes. And I'm just going to give you I'm just going to take a quick run through. It's not going to be like an hour session, but I'll get you on the right track at least. And that's going to be so valuable too, especially as we begin it's the beginning of the year and everything. We're trying to figure out what do we want to be doing. We talked a little bit about marketing for the investor and the real estate investor. So, listen, guys, take advantage of it. You get my eyeballs for free. Like I said, it's not a thorough kind of like hour-long session, but I will look at your stuff and I will give you an honest opinion and I will give you one good, directive that's going to just get you on your road that you need to be on. So that's my freebie gift of the year.
That's
only
perfect.
For the people listening to this. Oh, that's wait, right. We should have a code so we know that they listen to this point.
Let's do stalker.
Stalker. I like it.
Keyword is stalker if you're listening.
Keyword is stalker. Stefanie Stalker. I should just change my name to Stefanie Stalker.
Oh, Stefanie Stalker LaHart.
Listen, I'm like old school stalker though. I can like find stuff offline easily too.
There we go. I got a question here for Christina Fuller asks, where do you find that add-on in LinkedIn, or do you the add-on from ducksoup.com? You do it from Duck Soup.
If you just Google it, and the plugin will come up. It's for a Chrome browser.
Yep.
And you'll see it.
Yeah, really easy to use. Already added it, so it's not hard to do, Christine. You'll love that in your line of work and stuff like that. So we don't want to take too much of your time here. It's an hour flies by, or 50 minutes flies by pretty fast here. What's one big thing you're looking forward to this year? What's a big thing in 2019 besides the book coming out? And when you do that, let me know. We want to buy a bunch of copies and send it out to our membership out there as well. Okay.
That'll be so exciting. I am so excited about this book. Here's the thing. I actually was one of those people that like wanted to be a writer my whole life. I have a degree in journalism, and it was always one of those things, you know what, when I get my career going, then I'm going to be a writer, because I wasn't the kind of person that was like, I'm just going to only do writing. Like there was other stuff I wanted to do. And this idea came so fast and furious to me. It was like the easiest thing I've ever done. That, yes, a Stefanie Stalker, nice. That I was like, oh my God, now I have ideas for books. I mean, my year is really going to be about writing all these other books. Like I said, I already have my other trilogy down. And again, I'm really interested in doing more of this engagement stuff, like the podcast. I'm super into that stuff. And, of course, social media is my job and all that, but I'm really seeing that we're making more valuable and closer connections through things like podcasting, through things like special interests. Oh, do you remember the days of the BBS boards? You know what the BBS boards were? The digital bulletin boards before there was social media, and people would have a niche interest, and then all these other people would have discussions, and you would make lifelong friends and things like that. I see podcasting and, things like social media niches like that really being built out this year. I don't think we're going to see as much blasting as we did. And things that, with tools like Facebook, where they tried to be everything to everybody. And now there's so much crap on there. And I'm really excited to see us get to a more personal connection again, because I do see that happening. And my books, all the books I'm going to be writing. Oh, Scott, I even have my conversation mapped out that I'm going to use when I'm on the Ellen show. That's how sure this is happening. I already know what my opening story is going to be to her. That's
good. That's planning for success.
It's been
and
great.
That's what I love about you, Stefanie. You have a great different type of mindset. A lot of people are like, oh my God, what if? And you're like, yeah, what if?
Yes.
Listen,
not? Scott, I decided over 10 years ago that I was going to start a breast cancer foundation. I had no experience in nonprofit. I not only started a foundation, I ran it for 10 years, almost on my own, raised over $500,000, gave it all away to women that were dealing with breast cancer. Nobody taught me how to do it. I just said, why can't I do it? Same thing with the book. I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to run this marathon. And I want everybody out there to do that as well. If you have anything that just one day you hear about it or you do it and it gives you that feeling, like, go with that. It's called the law of attraction. Go start listening to all the YouTube videos about it. But I am so into that law of attraction now, because it is true. The more you focus on what you want, the more it does come to you. Yay.
Amen to that. It's so good. Once again, guys, Stefanie LaHart from BoomTown Marketing out of Los Angeles there. Like she said, use a special code when you reach out to her called Stalker. And she'll give you a quick social media preview and give you some insights on some of the things that you can do here for the new year. I am so jacked up. This has been a fun episode, Stefanie.
When are you going to book me again? We have so much more to talk about. And in a couple of months, we're going to have more book stuff to talk about.
Exactly. Don't hang up when we wrap up here. We got to talk about this Facebook stalking class. We got to put something together.
I really want to do that.
I'm serious. Let's do it. Let's do it. So thank you, though, for being a guest here on the Note Closer Show, though. All right.
Yes. And goodbye, Miss Stefanie in the background. I love that your wife is also named Stefanie.
Yes. Not quite the wife yet, but pretty close.
Oh, I thought you guys were already married.
Yeah, everybody thinks that. It's no biggie. We got through our starter marriages.
Okay.
We've been together for about 5 years, so it's not a big deal. So,
well, maybe by the next show, I can actually even say the name of the guy that I'm seeing, because I'm like forbidden to mention him online. He's just like, look, like he's actually in personal security. He's like, you can't talk about me online. Don't put pictures of me online. So like all through Christmas, everybody's like posting all their family photos, me and Christmas. And I'm like all sad. Like, I do have great photos, but I'm not allowed to post them. And
you know what we should do?
Social media.
I've got a great idea for you here. It comes from one of our students, Katie Moton, who's out of Reno. Mom, 2 kids. Her husband went off to Afghanistan. He's an active in military. So what she did is she got a photo of the guy with sunglasses and put it on the stick. So every time they went and took a family photo, they had dad in the photo. So what you should do is just find like a black round face with a dots and put that photo. Then later on, you can go back and glue his photo back.
That is so funny. Yeah, totally. Yeah, he's just like, and I've been good, man. And it was hard. It was hard not to share stuff. But I had a great Christmas.
Well, we're glad you had that. Glad you're feeling better. Happy New Year to you, Stefanie. And looking forward to all the great stuff coming from you in 2019. All righty?
Great. Thank you so much, Scott. I really, really had a lot of fun today.
Yeah, same here. Definitely. All right, guys. Hey, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closer Show. Take advantage of what Stefanie was offering. We'll post the website and link in the show notes. Make sure to use that code STALKER when you reach out to her so she knows where it came from. And stay tuned. Trust me, we'll be doing more Stefanie throughout the year. If you're going to be going to PodFest here in, golly, it's hard to believe it's around the corner here in March. I'm probably pretty sure. Yeah, you're probably gonna be at Traffic and Conversion too in San Diego later in February as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Doing all the conferences.
All the conference, same here. So, all right, guys, have a great day. We'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.
Bye.